Tonight, you listen to the whispers echoing within the stone walls of the most iconic castle in the wizarding world. You prepare to feel the faint vibration at the tip of your wand, the chill of the Gryffindor Tower, and the scent of that ancient magic that has endured for centuries in your lungs. Far from all the noise of the ordinary world, you are going to that place behind the misty mountains of Scotland where time slows down and paintings speak to you. You are going to Hogwarts. As the first light of morning hits the bed in your tower, let your mind go free now, releasing the weight and peace of seeing this world through Harry Potter's eyes, and allow a magical day to slowly flow by. Before you get lost in the depths of this historic and mystical atmosphere, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and share with me in your comments which city you're watching from and at what time. Your support is the greatest force that allows us to open the dusty pages of the past. Now, let go of all the weariness of the day, those complicated thoughts crowding your mind, and the invisible burdens on your shoulders. Nothing is more valuable than the breath you will take now and the peace you will feel. The world can keep turning outside, but you are here. You are safe and calm. As your eyelids grow heavy, surrender yourself to the safe arms of Hogwarts, to the wisdom of those ancient stones. As your eyelids gently part with the distinctive gray and gloomy morning light of Privet Drive, you find yourself in the smallest bedroom at number 4 Privet Drive. The sun has not yet fully risen over the horizon. It has only left a pale leaden light in the sky. The inside of the room is half dark, plunged into a silence completely isolated from the outside world. This silence isn't like the reverent, knowledge-scented silence of the Hogwarts library. On the contrary, it's a muggle silence woven with rules and fears ingrained into the walls of this house. The springs of your bed creak slightly as you shift your weight from one side to the other. This metallic sound sounds like thunder to your ears while the rest of the house is in a deep sleep. The muffled, rhythmic sound of Uncle Vernon's snoring from the next room reminds you once again of the routine, the unchanging nature, and the disconnection from the magical world of this house. When you slowly push the covers off, the cool air in the room touches your skin. The first morning chill of September heralds the end of summer and the melancholy beginning of autumn. When you dangle your feet from the bed and step onto the floor, you feel the thin layer of dust on the carpet and the hardness of the wooden floor beneath. In the corner of the room, Dudley's worn-out toys, a broken computer part, and unread books are piled up. This clutter consists of synthetic, soulless objects that don't belong to your world. But your gaze locks onto the massive object placed just under the window in the other corner of the room. Your school trunk. That trunk has an aura different from everything else in this room. The scratches on it, the peeled varnish, and the dulled shine of the brass fittings on its corners tell its story. That trunk is not just a luggage carrier for you. It is the gateway between two worlds. A treasure chest where your true identity is hidden. In the wizarding world, objects age with their owners, absorb memories, and gain character. In this house, objects are only meant to be used and thrown away when worn out. The lid of your trunk is open, and it's filled with the pieces that make up your real life. As you get out of bed and kneel by your trunk, the scent that fills your nose instantly transports you miles away. The slightly sour, dry smell of old parchments, the herbal and earthy aroma of potion ingredients, and of course, that indescribable castle scent infused into the fabric of your robe. You reach your hand into the trunk and begin to arrange the last items you'll place on top. When you pick up your black school robe, you feel the weight and texture of the fabric at your fingertips. How different this fabric is from the baggy, shapeless, and faded clothes your aunt forced you to wear. Every stitch, every fold of this robe carries the legacy that made you the boy who lived. You carefully fold it, and place it on top of your books. The leather covers of your books rub together with a solid sound. The names alone, a history of magic, defense against the dark arts, are enough to rekindle the locked excitement in your mind. Since magic was forbidden in this house all summer, all these objects have remained silent and idle. But now, as you touch them, you can feel the vibration of the dormant energy within them. You securely place your wand, that holy relic containing the 11-inch phoenix feather, within the folds of your robe. The warmth of the wood pulses like a heartbeat in your palm. This contact reminds you that you are not alone, that you are part of a whole. In the wizarding world, a wand is like a limb. Without it, you are incomplete, vulnerable. In this small room, the wand might look like just a piece of wood. But you know what it can do. Now everything is in its place. Your ink bottles, quills, the socks you stuffed inside your cauldron, all are ready for a long journey. You take a deep breath. You grip the heavy, domed lid of your trunk. The hinges groan slightly with the stiffness of not having been opened all summer. You slowly, carefully, lower the lid down. The moment the lid meets the body, a solid, final, and satisfying thud echoes, cutting through the silence in the room like a knife. This sound isn't just wood hitting wood. It is the sound of one era closing and another opening. It's the sound of a seal announcing the end of 3 boring, colorless, and oppressive months at Privet Drive. As you turn the trunk's locks one by one, the metallic click sounds formalize this farewell. Dust particles, stirred by the small air current created by the lid closing, float up and begin to dance in the weak light seeping through the window. Hedwig, your snow-white owl in her cage, lifts her head from under her wing upon hearing this sound and fixes her amber-colored eyes on you. She knows too. She too feels what this sound means, that freedom and the sky are very close. She lets out a soft cooing sound from her throat, like an affirmation in the morning's silence. Now there's nothing left to do but wait. You sit on your trunk and begin to watch the street outside. Soon a car will come, you'll hear the engine sound, and you'll leave this gray world behind. But for now, your trunk is locked, your belongings are safe, and your mind is more settled than ever. When you sink into the back seat of Uncle Vernon's car, the monotonous, rattling hum of the engine creates a slight vibration throughout your body. As the car begins to move, the identical, orderly, boring houses with gardens of Privet Drive begin to flow backwards past the window. You rest your head against the cold glass. The surface of the glass is like a thin sheet of ice carrying the autumn chill outside to your cheek. The sky has taken on England's famous soul-draining leaden gray. The clouds are so low and dense they resemble a wet, gray wool blanket draped over the city. The fine raindrops hitting the window are dragged backwards in horizontal lines by the wind. You follow the trail each drop leaves on the glass with your eyes. As these trails merge and trickle down, they mingle with the flow of thoughts in your mind. The smell of the leather seats inside the car combines with the sharp scent of Uncle Vernon's aftershave, forcing you to breathe in the suffocating atmosphere of this world that isn't yours. Compared to the sudden and dizzying travel methods of the magical world, this journey feels incredibly slow and cumbersome. Instead of passing through a fireplace in seconds or the instant speed of apparition, traveling for hours inside these mechanical boxes of the Muggle world feels like it alters the flow of time. The shhh sound of the wheels on the wet asphalt sets a hypnotic rhythm. As you leave the suburbs of Surrey and approach central London, the view outside the window begins to change. Brick buildings, factory chimneys, and sooty structures from the Industrial Revolution, all increasingly tall, replace the trees and gardens. London is like a sleepy giant at this hour. The streets aren't fully alive yet. Only early rising workers and delivery vans. Gray concrete, gray sky, and gray coats on people. Everything seems painted in a color palette opposite to the colorful, vibrant world you're going to. When the car finally pulls up in front of King's Cross Station, the overwhelming enormity of the structure fills your view. The station stands before you as the most concrete example of that heavy, powerful, yet equally gloomy Victorian architecture. The centuries-old layer of coal soot on the dark yellow and brown bricks gives the building an aged and weary expression. The huge arched windows and the clock tower reaching for the sky seem to proclaim that this is not a transport hub, but a temple of modern times. In those days, train stations were built as massive stone castles where destinies intersected, farewells and reunions took place, and King's Cross is the most majestic of these castles. The giant minute hand of the clock advances slowly, as if reminding you that time is running out for you. When the car's engine stops, the sudden silence is broken by the hum of the city outside. You open the door and step outside, and London's humid air, a mixture of exhaust fumes and wet earth, fills your lungs. Trying not to step in the puddles at the edge of the pavement, you head to the boot. Every detail on the station's exterior, every stone carving, every iron railing glistens from the rain. The thin layer of mist hanging in the air gives the towers at the top of the station a mysterious appearance. The pigeons around have taken shelter under the eaves, fluffing their feathers, waiting for this gray morning to pass. As you stand before those huge, dark entrance doors, you feel both very small and like the bearer of a very important secret. This pile of gray, wet, cold concrete isn't an end for you. It's just the outer shell of the glittering tunnel that opens to your real home, Hogwarts. The metallic clatter as you lower the trunk's handle and wheels onto the curb tells you it's time to leave this gray world. The moment you step inside the station's huge arched doors, the rainy silence outside gives way to an immense wall of sound. King's Cross's main hall resembles a huge hive where the noise made by thousands of people echoes and amplifies. Footsteps, the clatter of suitcase wheels, conductors' whistles, and the hum of hundreds of different conversations mingling create a tangible density hanging in the air. This is not the individualized, headphone-isolated silence of modern times. It's the raw noise of the analog era in the early 1990s, when people weren't yet buried in digital screens and were constantly interacting with each other, ticket counters, and newspapers. As you try to push your heavily laden trolley through this human flood, you feel the physical pressure of the crowd on your shoulders. Everyone is in a hurry. Businessmen rush about, swinging their long coats. Tourists spin huge maps in their hands, trying to find their way. And you, in the midst of this chaos, move slowly and cautiously, like a boat rowing against the current, locked onto an invisible target. The trolley in front of you moves sluggishly with the weight of the school trunk and Hedwig's cage on it. Every time the wheels hit a joint in the station's tiled floor, it creates a slight tremor in your arms. This vibration leaves a numbing, monotonous sensation starting in your palms and spreading to your elbows. The owl in the cage, disturbed by the crowd's noise, flaps her wings and lets out a sharp hoot, causing a few people around to turn and look at you. At that moment, the feeling of being different becomes even heavier. Walking through the busiest spot in the Muggle world with an owl and a trunk full of magic books is like carrying an impossible-to-hide secret. For people of that era, train travel was just a mechanical way to get from one point to another, but for you, this walk is a pilgrimage towards that thin line where the fabric of reality will tear. The light filtering through the glass panels in the station's ceiling illuminates the dust particles and rising cigarette smoke, making the atmosphere even more hazy and dreamlike. You look at the black and white mechanical signs showing the platform numbers. As the numbers 8, 9, 10 flow before your eyes, you slow your steps. There it is, rising between platforms 9 and 10, that ordinary, utterly unremarkable brick barrier. The wall's surface is blackened with years of grime and soot, the places where countless passengers have leaned or touched their hands slightly worn down. This barrier is the precise, hard, cold boundary separating your world from the others. People around you walk right past this wall, thinking it's just a column holding up the roof. Some pass by reading their newspapers, some checking their watches, walking just inches away from the magical passageway without realizing it. This indifference reminds you that the greatest protection of magic is actually people's desire not to see. As you approach the wall, that familiar gnawing feeling forms in your stomach. It's not fear, more like the feeling of emptiness just before jumping from a high place. You grip the trolley's handle tighter. Your knuckles turn white. The coldness of the metal lets you feel the sweat in your palm. You fix your eyes on the solid brickwork. You can make out the mortar lines between each brick, the pores on the surface. Soon the moment will come when the laws of physics lose their power, when logic falls silent. You take a deep breath, filling your lungs with the station's metallic, sooty air, and after one last check around, you prepare your body towards that solid-seeming illusion. When you speed up your steps and start running towards that solid brick wall, your deep-seated survival instinct screams at you to stop. Even if your logic whispers that a hard collision is inevitable, trusting the silent invitation of magic, you narrow your eyes slightly. In that millisecond when the trolley's front wheels meet the barrier, instead of the expected jolt, you encounter a cool, dense air current enveloping your body. This passage feels like walking through an icy waterfall or tearing through a thick curtain of fog. You feel a slight pressure change in your ears. The echoing, metallic, and noisy hum of King's Cross Station is cut off as if by a knife. After a momentary feeling of darkness and emptiness, when you part your lashes, you notice the world's color palette has completely changed. You are no longer in London's grey, rainy, pale atmosphere. Before you stretches a dense, enveloping sea of steam rising all the way to the platform's ceiling. This new world is like a warm, vibrant painting dominated by red and gold. The first scent that fills your nose is the throat-burning yet nostalgic smell of coal smoke. Mixed with it is the smell of old leather suitcases, fried pumpkin pasties, and exotic pets. As you stand on the stone floor of platform 9 3/4, the legendary silhouette emerges from the mists. The Hogwarts Express. Unlike the modernizing, electrifying railway network of the Muggle world in the 90s, here time seems to have frozen in the 19th century. The massive locomotive, with its bright scarlet paint, shines like a jewel. The brass fittings shimmer like gold in the dim light created by the smoke from the chimney. The white steam puffing from the chimney at rhythmic intervals combines with the light reflecting off the train's red body, creating a magical mist cloud tinge with pinkish red. This reddish steam veils everything and everyone on the platform like a soft gauze, blurring reality and giving the place a dreamlike air. When you stand next to the train's huge iron wheels, you hear the deep, rumbling sound from within the machine, reminiscent of deep breathing. Chuff, chuff, chuff. This rhythmic sound makes you feel the locomotive is impatient like a living creature, feeling the power of the pressure inside. The heat radiating from the boiler hits your face, instantly making you forget London's wet chill. This warmth is not just from the coal fire but also the warmth of the excitement, hope, and magic left on this platform by thousands of wizards over centuries. The crowd around you looks like shadows moving within the steam. The hems of robes ripple in the mist. All cages appear and disappear within the smoke. As you walk beside this huge scarlet serpent, you feel the desire to reach out and touch the train's body. The metal is warm, smooth, and vibrating. This touch whispers that this is where you belong, that the world you left behind that brick wall is just a shadow. The Hogwarts Express isn't just a means of transport. It is your faithful, iron steed, waiting in all its majesty to carry you from the ordinary to the extraordinary. As you advance through the reddish steam and the station's loud, echoing noise, your eyes search the crowd for a familiar haven. The faces around you come and go like shadows. Anxious mothers straighten their children's collars. Fathers struggle to place trunks on the train's high steps. And you, in the midst of this bustling chaos, try to distinguish that distinctive, warm color, the Weasley family's flaming red hair. When a curtain of steam blocking your view parts slightly, you notice the large, noisy family gathered in the middle of the platform. Ron is standing there, a bit taller than last summer, with that slightly slouchy posture he carries. His clothes are probably hand-me-downs from one of his brothers, a bit loose and full of wear. This sight creates an invaluable feeling of security for you, because Ron's unassuming and sincere presence is your greatest support in this world. In an era where letters were waited for weeks and communication was only through owls, seeing your friend alive and in front of you tears away all the loneliness in your soul. As you approach him, Ron notices you, and that wide, slightly surprised but genuine smile appears on his face. When he makes his way through the crowd and reaches your side, that silent understanding between you kicks in. Without the need for long sentences, you share all the troubles of the past summer, and the relief of reunion with just a look. When you shake hands or touch his shoulder, you feel the rough, warm wool texture of that homemade knitted jumper on your fingers. This texture is like a symbol carrying the warm, chaotic, and peaceful atmosphere of the burrow, Mrs. Weasley's love knitted stitch by stitch, here to this cold station. Right then, from the other side of the crowd, Hermione appears, struggling with a huge trunk she's carrying and an armful of textbooks. Her hair is as bushy as ever, and her face has that sweet fluster of fearing to miss or be late for something. Hermione's disciplined and rule-abiding energy, combined with Ron's ease, completes the balance in your world. When the three of you come together, the noise created by the hundreds of people around you seems to stay outside an invisible bell jar. You only perceive each other's voices, breaths, and presence. As Hermione tries not to drop her books and hugs you, you smell the scent of old parchment, library dust, and fresh ink on her robes. This scent represents the academic and safe side of Hogwarts. At that moment, the metallic train sounds, owl hoots, and human hum on the platform become just background music outside the warm circle formed by your friendship. Standing together, your shoulders touching makes you feel at home. The coldness of that colorless room at Privet Drive gives way to the tangible heat radiating from this friendship. With minutes left before the train departs, the re-establishment of this trio is the only armor you need to face the long journey ahead and the uncertainties at school. As you combine your trunks and walk side by side towards the doors of that huge scarlet locomotive, the harmony in your steps becomes a quiet reflection of the harmony in your spirits. When you stand right next to the Hogwarts Express's bright red-painted metal body, the last and most challenging physical obstacle rises before you. When you tightly grip the trunk's leather handle with both hands, the hard and rough texture you feel in your palms reminds you how real this burden is. In those days, since students were forbidden from doing magic outside school and you hadn't yet mastered lightning charms, loading this massive trunk onto the train required an old-fashioned effort based on pure muscle power. Taking a deep breath and bending your knees slightly, you lift the trunk from the ground, feeling the muscles in your arms tighten and the familiar weight settling on your shoulders. Each time the trunk's metal corners hit the train's iron steps, a solid, echoing clang sound mixes with the station's noise. With Ron helping from the other end, you inch this cumbersome box up into the narrow entrance vestibule of the carriage. This process is far from the effortless convenience of modern travel with wheeled suitcases. It carries the spirit of the arduous, sweat and effort-scented journeys of the 19th century. When you finally lower the trunk onto the corridor floor, the air filling your lungs changes. The cool, smoky open air outside gives way to the warm, slightly stuffy, wood-polish-scented atmosphere inside the carriage. The train's corridor stretches before you like a long, narrow tunnel where two people can barely pass side by side. The floor is covered with a thick carpet, its patterns faded, infused with years of dust and the footprints of thousands of students. The wide windows covering one side let in the hazy light of the reddish steam from the platform. On the other side, compartment doors made of mahogany, their varnish darkened with time, are lined up. As you start moving down the corridor, the congestion of the human traffic inside restricts your movements. On one side, students leaning out of windows to say goodbye. On the other, the fluster of those looking for seats creates a chaotic but intimate crowding in this narrow space. As you drag your trunk in front of you or try to lift it and pass by people, you have to say "excuse me" with every step. Robe fabrics rub against each other. School bags hit your legs. You progress by watching the lives behind the sliding glass doors like a film strip. Some compartments are packed. From inside come laughter, sounds of exploding magical pranks, and excited conversations. The blurred faces behind the glass seem happy and settled in their own worlds. You, on the swaying floor of the corridor, are like a nomad searching for your own quiet corner. Your eyes look for an empty seat, a calm area. But the front carriages are, as usual, popular and crowded. As you progress, the sounds diminish a bit, the crowd thins out. Towards the rear of the train, you reach an area a bit further from that chaos, more isolated. Finally, you find that empty compartment, where only a small dust mote dances in the beam of light by the window. When you grip the brass handle of the door and slide it sideways, the sound of the metal mechanism on the rails rubbing announces your victory. The air inside is more still. The velvet upholstery of the seats is cooler. When you push your trunk with one last effort onto the metal-grilled luggage rack above and settle it with that final thud sound, the settling flurry ends. Now it's just you, your friends, and the journey awaiting you. When you sink into that soft but slightly sprung seat, the ache in your back is replaced by a sweet relaxation. The moment you settle into the compartment and lean back against the slightly dust-scented velvet seat, you hear that sharp, piercing sound echoing under the station's vast dome. The locomotive's whistle isn't like the polite, electronic signals of modern trains. It's a raw, metallic scream, as if shouting all the pressure from its lungs, felt in your bones. This sound vibrates in the carriage's wooden paneling, reaching the windows and seeping into your ribcage. It's not so much a warning as a seal. A definitive sign announcing that your connection with the Muggle world is severed as of that moment. Immediately after, you feel a slightly shuddering tremor in the train's body. The huge iron wheels grip the cold rails beneath and make their first movement, the entire carriage creaking. The jolt created by that first struggle against gravity and stillness pushes you back slightly into your seat. Looking out the window, you see the familiar stone floor of platform 9 3/4 slowly, almost reluctantly, begin to flow backwards. At first, everything happens in slow motion. The faces of waving parents, running siblings, and the colorful crowd on the platform slowly slip away within the window's frame. As the train accelerates, these faces become indistinguishable. They turn into just a colorful blur. The thick white steam from the locomotive's chimney is swept backwards by the wind and covers your window. For a moment, a milky white thick curtain is drawn between you and the outside world. This steam curtain cuts you off from London's grayness and reality, trapping you in your own inner world. When the train slips out of the station's arched exit, daylight floods into the carriage. But this light is different from the magical dimness on the platform. Harder, more realistic. The rhythmic clack-clack sound of the wheels on the rails now becomes the heartbeat of the journey. With each strike of the wheels against the rail joints, this sound takes you one step further from the ordinary world. As the train picks up speed and heads towards London's outskirts, the scenery passing by the window speeds up like a film strip. The city's back streets, the sooty facades of red brick apartments, laundry hanging on tiny balconies, and the rusty roofs of factories all continue to live in their own cycles, unaware of the magical world you belong to. You see children playing in a backyard garden, cars waiting at a red light. While life flows in the same monotony for them, you are gliding into a completely different dimension through an invisible tunnel. This is not like modern air travel, rising above the clouds and detaching from the world. On the contrary, it is leaving the world by passing right through its veins, from within. The cityscape slowly thins out. Empty plots, industrial warehouses, and occasional trees begin to replace the buildings. As London fades into a gray memory behind you, the train's reassuring, cradle-like rocking motion relaxes your body. There's no turning back now. Resting your head against the glass and listening to the rhythm vibrating in its coolness, you focus not on the city you left behind but on the endless greenery stretching before you. When the city noise completely fades, giving way only to the song of the rails and the wind, the journey truly begins. When London's sooty bricks and grey concrete completely disappear from view, your window frame now captures an endless green ocean. As the Hogwarts Express speeds northwards, England's famous pastoral countryside begins to flow before your eyes like a painting. Resting your head against the cold glass and watching outside, the speed of the scenery puts you in a strange trance. The bushes, fences, and wild grass near the rails are swept back so fast they become indistinguishable green and brown lines. But when you fix your gaze on the distant hills on the horizon, the world slows down. Those hills seem to turn slowly, moving with the train. Emerald green pastures, sheep herds scattered like white cotton balls, and moss-covered stone walls that have stood for centuries. This landscape seems completely exempt from the Industrial Revolution, technology, and the ravages of time. As if the train is traveling not only in space but also backwards in time. You are gliding from the chaos of the modern world towards the ancient, silent order of nature. The sky sheds its initial partly cloudy state and takes on the dense leaden gray typical of an English autumn. When the first raindrop hits the window with a sharp pit sound, the warm and safe atmosphere inside the compartment becomes even more pronounced. Then the second, third, and thousands follow. Due to the train's speed, the raindrops don't hit the window vertically but almost in horizontal lines, as if racing with the wind. The water accumulating on the glass's surface forms thin rivers dragged backwards by the wind's force. Watching these tiny waterways mix, separate, and flow tremblingly has a hypnotic effect that silences all thoughts in your mind. The outside world is no longer clear. The hazy curtain created by the rain softens and blurs the trees and hills like a painter's brushstrokes. When you press your ear close to the glass, you can hear the battle of the elements outside. The wind's muffled roar as it hits the train's metal body and the rhythmic tapping of the rain on the window combine with the monotonous clack-clack of the rails, turning into a natural lullaby. This sound is like a harmonious duet between the power of nature and a man-made machine. While you sit in the velvet seat inside, the contrast between the dry warmth you feel and the wet, windy, cold world just beyond the glass gives you a deep peace. As if that glass is a magical shield protecting you from all evil, cold, and uncertainty in the universe. Now and then, a lonely farmhouse or an abandoned mill appears faintly through the mists and disappears. You wonder about the lives of the people living in those houses, what they are doing right now. While they live a rooted, fixed life, you are inside a river flowing towards the unknown on iron rails. When the rain intensifies and completely washes the window, the outside turns into an abstract realm where only gray and green dance, and you remain suspended in that eternal present where time loses its meaning. As time flows with the monotonous lullaby of the rails, a new sound begins to be heard, changing the calm and somewhat sleepy air inside the compartment. From the depths of the corridor, mingling with the muffled rubbing sound of wheels on carpet, approaches that metallic and cheerful clinking of glass jars touching. This sound creates a slight flutter in your stomach, a childish anticipation. Contrary to the gray and rainy world outside, you sense that what is approaching is warm, colorful, and delicious. When the sliding glass of the compartment door is pushed aside by a gentle, aged hand, the air that floods in instantly changes. Along with the corridor's coolness comes the intoxicating scent of melted candy, fresh pumpkin, cinnamon, and rich cocoa, enveloping the small room like perfume. When the cheerful witch with rosy cheeks appears at the door and asks, "Anything from the trolley, dears?" Her question rings not just as a sales offer but like an invitation to the abundance of this magical world. When you reach into your robe pocket, your fingers meet cold, tarnished metal coins. Unlike the light, paper-heavy structure of Muggle money, the weight of galleons gold, sickles silver, and nuts bronze creates a real treasure weight in your palm. That weight reminds you that you are no longer that cupboard under the stairs child living in deprivation, but a free individual who can make your own decisions. When you say, "We'll take the lot," and extend that handful of coins, you see the surprised but happy expression on Ron's face. Soon, the empty seat in the compartment turns into a colorful mountain. Bertie Bott's every flavor beans, pumpkin pasties, licorice wands, and of course, chocolate frogs. Each package's wrapping shines like a work of art. Red, purple, gold, and silver foil papers raise the room's energy even in the pale light from the window. You pick up one of those iconic blue pentagonal boxes. The cardboard's hard, smooth texture slips under your fingertips. As you begin to open the thin, transparent cellophane wrapper surrounding the box, the sharp rustling sound filling the silent compartment sounds like the sweetest melody in the world to your ears. This is the sound of opening a gift, discovering a secret. When you peel off the cellophane and set it aside, you open the box's lid. The intense scent of milk chocolate that emanates from inside completely erases the gloom of the rain. The moment you open the lid, with a magical reflex, the brown chocolate frog stretches slightly and makes a small leap outward. Trying to catch it in midair or keep it in the box is the most fun part of this ritual. When you bite into the frog, the rich taste spreading on your palate is the taste of the road to Hogwarts. But the real excitement lies in the shiny card underneath the frog. Ron's rustling sounds as he opens his own package mingle with yours. As he complains, "I got Morgana again." You focus on the moving picture on your own card. Maybe Dumbledore is smiling at you over his half-moon spectacles. Or maybe Merlin is stroking his long beard. That pile of sweets heaped on your knees in that small, cramped train compartment is not just a feast but also a shared moment of happiness. The thin rustle of the cellophane combines with the tapping of the rain on the window, whispering to you that you are safe, satisfied, and with the people you love. At that moment, you are the richest person in the world. Not because of the gold in your pocket, but because of the warmth of this shared moment. When the endless green English countryside outside the window gradually begins to give way to the darkest and deepest shades of navy blue, you feel the flow of time change as well. The gray clouds covering the sky all day now merge with the approaching night's veil, rendering the outside world invisible. The carriage window ceases to be a frame showing the outside and turns into a dark mirror reflecting the warm yellow light inside and your tired but excited face. The occasional lights passing outside quickly fall behind like shooting stars. The rhythmic clack-clack sound from the train's wheels takes on a fuller, more echoing tone within the night's silence. Right at that moment, the authoritative but exciting announcement echoing along the corridor is heard. "We will be reaching Hogwarts in 5 minutes' time. Please leave your luggage on the train. It will be taken to the school separately." This sentence instantly shatters the relaxed, sleepy air inside the compartment and replaces it with a sweet, electric flurry. You stand up and reach for your trunk on the overhead rack. Your body is slightly stiff from sitting for long hours, but this movement loosens your muscles. When you open your trunk's lid and take the black school robe you carefully placed on top, the fabric's cool, smooth, flowing texture slips over your fingertips. This fabric isn't ordinary clothing. It is a symbol of a centuries-old tradition, a belonging. As you take off the colorful t-shirts and jeans of the Muggle world and slip on this black, heavy fabric, the weight settling on your shoulders gives you a strange confidence. The slight swish sound as you slip your hands through the robe's sleeves is the sound of completely severing your connection with the outside world. As you button the front, even though the crest on your chest is still empty, the deep curiosity about which house you'll belong to stirs in your heart. In the mirror's reflection, the child from Privet Drive is no longer there. Before you stands a young wizard placing his wand in his pocket, ready to embrace his destiny. Inside the compartment, Ron and Hermione perform the same silent ritual. The sound of robe fabrics rubbing against each other mingles with the howl of the wind outside. When the train begins to slow down, the metallic, screeching sound of brakes is heard. This sound creates an indescribable feeling of emptiness in your stomach, a kind of amusement park excitement. The arrival moment is always an unknown but also the greatest hope. When you press your face close to the window, you see those small clusters of yellow lights flickering in the pitch-black darkness outside, very far away. The lanterns of Hogsmeade Station shine like beacons of hope in the mist. The train's shaking subsides. The carriages bump gently against each other as they slow down. You are no longer just a passenger. You are about to become part of that legendary castle, that magical lake, and those ancient walls. Your heart begins to beat faster than the train's wheels. Soon the doors will open, and when that cold Scottish air hits your face, your story will truly have begun. As you prepare your trunk and owl, you take a deep breath and savor the moment, the taste of standing on that threshold. When the Hogwarts Express's huge iron wheels grip the rails and stop with one last metallic groan, the slight swaying inside the carriage gives way to absolute stillness. When the hypnotic rhythm of the journey ceases, your body feels momentarily suspended in emptiness. When the train's outer doors hiss and creak open, the air flooding in is very different from London's humid, temperate air. This is the pure, sharp, knife-like cold mountain air of Scotland. The first breath you draw burns your throat with its coldness but also clears your mind. It shakes off your drowsiness, focusing you completely on the present. Mingling with the crowd and being swept along in the heavy, slowly moving human stream in the corridor, you step onto the dark, small, stone-paved platform. Night envelopes you like a black cloak. Hogsmeade Station is like an isolated, mystical island lit only by the flickering yellow light of a few gas lamps in the midst of pitch darkness. There are hundreds of students around you. Their breath turns into white vapor clouds in the cold air. Stepping out of the train's warm, safe belly and into this ominous darkness is as frightening as a chick breaking its shell, yet equally inevitable. As the cold wind tugs at the hem of your robe, you straighten your shoulders and try to warm up. In the midst of the chaos around you, trunks being dragged, owls hooting restlessly, and older students' laughter, you feel like a tiny, lost dot for a moment. But right at that moment of uncertainty, a voice as deep as thunder yet equally warm and paternal echoes, overpowering the crowd's noise. "Fur's years over here," he roars, his voice vibrating in the cold air, echoing in your ribcage. His call separates you from the other students, from that huge crowd. While the upper years head towards the invisible carriages pulled by thestrals, you and the other timid, excited children like you gather around this giant guide. Hagrid's huge boots make the ground tremble with every step he takes on the stone floor, it seems. When he swings his lantern and points towards a dark path, your body, shivering from the cold, warms with the great fire of curiosity inside. Leaving the train, civilization, and everything you know behind, you take your first step following this giant into the depths of the night and the unknown. When you step off the station's flickering yellow lights and onto that narrow, steep path extending into the night's embrace, the world completely transforms. The mechanical, civilized feeling brought by the railway gives way to the wild and primitive breath of nature. The dirt path under your feet has softened from the recent rain, turning into wet mud that slightly sucks in the soles of your boots with every step. The squelching sounds you make while walking echo within the deep silence of the forest. Ancient pine trees lining both sides of the path rise like massive columns blocking the sky. The branches are so tightly interwoven that even moonlight struggles to reach the ground. There's only pitch darkness and the rustling song of the wind filtering through the trees. The scent filling your nose is very different from the coal smell at the station. Here, the heavy, earthy smell of rotten leaves, damp moss, and wet resin dominates. This scent pulls you away from the sterile world of modern times and draws you into the ancient atmosphere of legends and fairy tales. When you round the bend in the path, you notice that strange and frightening convoy waiting in the darkness. Hundreds of black, old-fashioned carriages are lined up by the side of the road, silently waiting for their passengers. The carriage's design has Gothic, angular lines reminiscent of Victorian-era funeral hearses. But what really catches your attention isn't the empty space in front of these carriages, but the beings filling that void. Thestrals, those mysterious creatures only seen by those who have witnessed death. In the darkness, these skeletal horses with almost invisible black skin stand motionless. With their dragon-like heads, white, pupilless eyes, and leathery skin stretched over their bones, they have a frightening yet sorrowful nobility. Their huge bat wings are pressed against their bodies. They only occasionally swish their tails, revealing their presence. Their silent stance makes you feel they are the mystical guardians of the castle. When your turn comes, you approach the door of the carriage nearest to you. As you pass by a thestral, it turns its head slightly towards you. Its white eyes seem to hold a wisdom about the beyond. When you place your foot on the carriage's step, The metal's coldness is felt through the sole of your boot. As you step inside and sink into that old, worn leather seat, the scent that fills your nose intensifies. Aged leather, old straw, and a slight musty smell. This scent isn't disturbing. On the contrary, it's the smell of history, lived experience, and the dusty past of the castle. When you close the door behind you, the sound of the wind outside becomes muffled. Inside is dim, narrow, and jolting. The moment you settle in, as if receiving an invisible command, the skeletal horses in front spring into action. With the creak and rhythmic sound of the wheels turning on the muddy road, the carriage begins to rock you like a cradle. Each time the carriage bounces slightly over stones and roots, the springs groan. Looking out the window, you only see the shadows of trees passing rapidly. This journey is the last and most mysterious bridge carrying you from the world you know to that majestic castle on the hill, to the heart of magical education. You surrender to that jolting rhythm, waiting for the moment of arrival inside that safe box in the darkness. When the Thestral's pulled carriages emerge from the dense, suffocating darkness of the forest into the clearing, the scenery before you suddenly widens. The narrow tunnel formed by the dark trees ends, and the sky opens up with all its grandeur. Right at that moment, you encounter the breathtaking sight that makes your heart pound wildly in your chest. When you look up, you see that massive pile of stone perched on top of a steep cliff, defying the sky, Hogwarts Castle. This structure is not an ordinary building or school. Like a natural extension of the mountain rising, its towers touching the clouds, it stands defiant against gravity and time like an ancient beast. The castle's silhouette appears as an even blacker, sharper, more majestic shadow against the sky painted in the darkest tones of night blue. The pointed roofs of the towers, the jagged outlines of the battlements, and the massive weight of the main body make you feel you are in the safest and most powerful place in the world. But what makes this dark mass truly enchanting are the hundreds, maybe thousands, of warm golden yellow lights seeping from the windows on the stone walls. Shining in the midst of pitch darkness, these windows look like stars from the sky descended and imprisoned in stone. Unlike the cold, fixed brightness of electric light, the light radiating from these windows is alive, flickering, and inviting. The brightness created by the thousands of candles, fireplaces, and torches burning inside promises a warm embrace in the cold Scottish night. Each of the windows whispers about the life spinning behind it, the spells being learned, friendships being forged, and secrets being kept. Those lights are like victory fires lit against the wild nature, darkness, and unknown outside. In this state, the castle resembles the inaccessible, sacred monasteries on hilltops that offered shelter to travelers in the ominous nights of the Middle Ages. It possesses a frightening power yet is also a source of infinite peace. As the carriages approach the castle, you look at the still surface of the black lake by the road. The castle's magnificent image is reflected exactly in the dark mirror of the water. The lights tremble in the water. The reflections of the towers stretch into the depths. This reflection doubles the castle's grandeur, as if it's a dual reality existing both in the sky and under the water. The small ripples created by the wind on the lake's surface slightly distort, and then correct the castle's image in the water. This gives the scenery a dreamlike, fluid quality. As you get closer, the castle's details become even more distinct. You can make out the moss on the stones, the frightening faces of the gargoyles, and the massive oak leaves of the main entrance door. You feel as small as an ant before this giant structure. But this feeling of smallness isn't crushing. On the contrary, it's comforting. Because you know these massive stone walls, these towers, and the light seeping from those windows are there to protect you from the outside world. When the carriage's wheels begin turning noisily on the stone bridge leading to the castle's courtyard, you are taking your final steps remaining outside. When the warmth of the lights begins to hit your face, you understand that the journey is over and you have arrived at your home's door. When you pass through the castle's cold, echoing, stone-scented entrance hall and stand before the huge carved oak doors of the great hall, the first thing you feel is the dense life energy seeping from inside, overflowing through the door cracks. When the heavy leaves of the doors creak and slowly swing open to either side with the intervention of an invisible hand, your eyes are dazzled for a moment. After the dark and cool corridors, the scene inside is like witnessing a sunrise. As you step over the threshold, the wave of warm air hitting your face carries the appetite-whetting scent of cinnamon, beeswax, and roasted food. But what truly takes your breath away is the impossible view you see when you look up. Thousands of candles, floating in midair, defying gravity without being attached anywhere, fill the void of the hall. These candles aren't like the fixed, soulless light of electric bulbs. Each one is a living, vibrating, dancing little ball of flame. The soft amber-colored light they cast bathes the 4 long tables below, the students' faces, and the golden plates in a warm glow. Walking under this enchanted ceiling is like walking among the stars. Just above the candles, instead of the stone arches of the ceiling, a window seems to open onto the night itself. The stormy, cloudy sky outside hangs above your head here as a safe reflection. The velvety blackness creates a feeling of infinite depth pierced by the candlelight. When you step on the smooth stones of the hall's floor, your footsteps don't echo. Because the whispers of hundreds of students inside, the clatter of dishes, and the rustle of robes create that dense hum hanging in the air. This sound isn't a disturbing noise. On the contrary, it's the soothing, constant, and lively murmur of a beehive. As you pass between the tables of Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Slytherin, you feel hundreds of pairs of eyes on you. But these gazes aren't judgmental. They are inviting. The gleaming golden plates and goblets on the tables reflect the candlelight, causing small lightning flashes in your eyes. During your walk, you better comprehend the hall's immense width and height. The torches on the walls illuminate the carvings and century-old coats of arms on the stones. The teacher's table sits at the far end of the hall on a high platform, like the ruler of all this splendor. When you see Albus Dumbledore sitting on the golden throne in the middle, his silvery beard shining in the candlelight, an indescribable confidence fills you. His presence is a calm power balancing the chaos of this massive hall. As you walk down that long corridor, the melted beeswax dripping from the candles disappears in midair before hitting the ground. This detail alone proves how elegant magic is and how much a part of life it is. Walking within that crowd, that flood of light, and that warmth, you feel lightened as if in the most beautiful scene of a dream. This walk isn't just an entrance into a hall. It's also a walk of acceptance towards the great family you belong to, that ancient history, and the magical future awaiting you. As you approach the stool before you and the old, patched hat on it, your heartbeat synchronizes with the vibration of the candles. When Professor McGonagall places the Sorting Hat, the school's oldest and most mysterious relic, on the simple 4-legged stool, you feel the hundreds of breaths in the great hall holding simultaneously. The object before you appears at first glance to be just an old, worn, somewhat threadbare wizard's hat with the dust of centuries settled upon it. Its patches and faded color make it seem a stark contrast to the grandeur of this magnificent hall. Yet in that moment of silence, you understand the hat is not merely a scrap of fabric. It is an ancient entity, bearing Hogwarts memory, capable of thought and feeling. Under the flickering light of the thousands of candles on the ceiling, the deep tear on the hat's brim opens slowly, like a mouth. The moment you've been waiting for has arrived. The object you thought inanimate comes to life and begins its song with that raspy, peculiar, yet profoundly wise voice that reaches every corner of the hall. The melody it sings is not like the smooth aria of an opera singer. It more closely resembles the rustle of old parchment, or the sound of a dried tree branch in the wind. Its voice echoes off the stone walls, telling you not only of the present moment but of 1,000 years past, of the legendary times when the school's four founders lived. As the rhyming, rhythmic verses of wisdom flow, the atmosphere in the hall grows heavy. The hat speaks of courage, loyalty, wit, and ambition. Every word is etched into the minds of the listening students. Standing there in that crowd, you feel in your bones that this song is not just a tradition, it is also a prophecy where your destiny is sealed. Unlike the cheerful, simple structure of school songs in the Muggle world, this song is a warning, an admonition, and a history lesson. As the hat's voice rises and falls, the ancient magical energy within the building vibrates. When the song delivers its final rhyme and that torn mouth returns to a motionless fold of fabric, a microscopic moment of silence fills the hall. It is a moment of comprehension, immediately shattered by a thunderclap of applause that shakes the massive stone hall. Hundreds of students at the four long tables clap their hands in unison, saluting this ancient ritual. The applause is powerful enough to make even the candle flames tremble. Enthusiastic cheers rising from the Gryffindor table, the dignified, strong applause from the Slytherin table, and the rhythmic support from Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff mingle together. This sound is not merely an expression of approval. It is the Hogwarts family's way of saying, "We are here, and we carry on the tradition." The clap 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 sound of hundreds of hands roars in your ears like a waterfall. The tension on the faces of your friends beside you is replaced by a relaxation brought by this shared excitement. The contrast between the hat's inanimate posture and the hall's lively reaction is a hallmark of the magical world. You are in a place where even the most ordinary-looking objects command the greatest respect. As the applause slowly fades, only a sweet hum and the excitement of the impending moment when your name will be called remain. When Professor McGonagall unrolls the long parchment in her hands, the applause gives way once more to that respectful, expectant silence. But this time, the silence is not filled with fear but with the peace of acceptance. After the Sorting Hat's historic decision, when you settle into the long table belonging to your house, Gryffindor, you feel the great weight of tension lift from your shoulders. Even the hardness of the wooden bench feels comfortable now. Because you belong somewhere now. You have a home. However, along with this relief, a primal urge you hadn't noticed until now, suppressed by the long train journey and intense stress of the day, awakens. Hunger. You look at the table before you. A starched white cloth runs the length of it, lined with solid gold plates that gleam like fire in the candlelight. Right now, these plates are empty. Their smooth, metallic surfaces only reflect the ceiling and your tired face. The weight and coldness of the silver fork in your hand make your weight even more tangible. When Dumbledore's short, cheerful, and slightly odd-opening remarks echo through the hall and conclude, you blink your eyes for a moment, and when you open them again, you encounter that miracle where the laws of physics have completely failed. As if an invisible curtain has been lifted. The golden plates, empty just a moment ago, are now overflowing with mountains of food. The speed and silence of this transition astonish you. Before the sight, an intense, dizzying wave of aroma hits your face. This smell is nothing like the scent of boiled vegetables and burnt toast at Privet Drive. This is the scent of a true royal feast, of centuries-old recipes and a magical kitchen. The dense, meaty steam of roast beef fresh from the oven drifts through the air into your nose. Alongside it is the salty, greasy aroma of golden brown roasted chickens, spicy sausages, and thinly sliced chops. The scents don't blend. On the contrary, each preserves its own character, creating a magnificent symphony. The sharp forest-like scent of rosemary, the earthy smell of thyme, and the soft, milky touch of melted butter. Looking at the scene before you, the riot of colors on the golden plates dazzles your eyes. The bright yellow of boiled potatoes, the vibrant green of peas, the deep brown tones of gravied meats, and the golden puffiness of Yorkshire puddings look like a painting under the candlelight. In the Muggle world, preparing, cooking, and serving a meal is an effort that takes hours. Here, food is as fast as a thought and as real as a desire. When you reach for your plate and take a spoonful of those hot, soft potatoes, you watch the wonderful steam rise. The thick, hot gravy you pour from the boat slowly roams over the food. It fills every gap. The sounds in the hall change. The earlier applause and cheers are replaced by the rhythmic metallic clink of hundreds of forks and knives on gold plates, and a satisfied silence. This is one of the most peaceful sounds in the world. It is the sound of security, satiety, and sharing. When you take the first bite into your mouth, the intensity of the flavor spreads across your palate. This isn't just about filling your stomach. It's also about satisfying the emptiness, the longing, and the weariness in your soul. Sharing the same table with your friends, with Ron and Hermione, you balance the meal's warmth with the ice-cold chill of pumpkin juice poured into goblets. This feast proves to you, with the sweet heaviness in your stomach and the peaceful lethargy settling over you, that Hogwarts is not just a school. It is a mother's lap that nourishes, protects, and pampers you. When the last sweet crumbs on the golden plates also magically disappear and the plates return to their original smooth, shiny state, a sated lethargy and an expectant silence falls upon the great hall. Hundreds of students' stomachs are full, their bodies relaxed with the pleasant fatigue of the day. The intense hum created by the sounds of cutlery, laughter, and animated conversation suddenly ceases. As if an invisible conductor has lowered their hand and silenced the music. From the very end of the hall, from the magnificent golden throne at the center of the teacher's table, a silhouette slowly rises to its feet, drawing all gazes upon itself. This person is Albus Dumbledore. His rising is not hasty or abrupt. On the contrary, it is as slow, natural, and awe-inspiring as an ancient oak straightening slightly in the wind. His midnight blue, star-embroidered robe glimmers faintly in the candlelight, and his long silver beard flows down to his chest. The blue eyes watching from behind his half-moon spectacles shine with a lively, piercing intelligence, as if seeing each student individually. When the hall is plunged into complete silence, Dumbledore begins to speak. His voice is not old and trembling as you might expect. On the contrary, it is as full, smooth, and soothing as the echo of water from a deep well. He has no need to shout or raise his voice, because this tone possesses a magical timbre, and reaches even the ears of the students sitting at the very back in the farthest corner of the hall as clearly as if whispered right beside them. This voice does not echo off the stone walls. It envelopes them. Unlike the distant, regal demeanor medieval kings adopted when reading proclamations, Dumbledore's style interweaves the warmth of a grandfather telling tales to his grandchildren with the authority of a sage privy to the secrets of the universe. His choice of words, his emphasis, and his pauses possess a rhythm that hypnotizes everyone listening. The things he says are sometimes strange, sometimes funny, sometimes chillingly serious. Even when he speaks of not entering the forbidden forest, or the corridor on the third floor posing a risk of painful death, the slight smile on his face and the paternal tone in his voice remain unchanged. This paradox summarizes the nature of Hogwarts for you. This is a place full of dangers. But as long as Dumbledore is there, those dangers are under control. His presence creates a sense of security more solid than the castle's very foundations. When he speaks and opens his arms to the sides, the wings of his wide robe appear like a massive shield ready to gather and protect all the students beneath it. Listening to his voice, all the anxieties in your mind, the sadness of being far from home, and the uncertainty of tomorrow fade away. Only the present moment, that voice, and that feeling of security remain. Although Dumbledore is the most powerful wizard of the era, there is no arrogance or display of power in his speech. Only pure wisdom and serenity flow from his lips. When he finishes his speech and utters his famous closing line, "Now off to bed," it rings less like an order and more like an invitation to well-earned rest. As he takes his seat, the spell in the hall is broken, but its effect lingers. The scraping of chairs and the sound of students rising begins again. Yet the vibration left by Dumbledore's full voice still hangs in the air. As you rise from the Gryffindor table and head toward the dormitory, you carry that safe melody his voice left in your ears. You know that in this castle, under the shadow of that silver-bearded man, no darkness can harm you. With this peace, you take your first step toward the stairs. Leaving the great hall's warm, noisy, food-scented atmosphere and emerging into the main entrance hall, you carry the heavy lethargy that has settled over your body like an invisible cloak on your shoulders. Your stomach is stuffed, your mind is tired from the day's countless excitements, and your eyelids are about to succumb to gravity. Before you lies the legendary, steep journey to the Gryffindor Tower, ascending 7 stories. When you step onto the first marble stair, you feel the muscles in your legs ache slightly. This ache is not an uncomfortable pain. On the contrary, it's like the price of the path to a well-deserved rest at the end of a long day. This part of the castle is not as warm as the hall. The ancient chill emanating from the stone walls and the flickering light of the torches make the environment dimmer and sleepier. As the climb begins, your steps become automatic. The solid tap-tap sound of your boots on the marble steps echoes in the stairwell and drifts upward. First floor, second floor. You pass hundreds of portraits lining the walls on each landing. Most of the paintings, because it's night, have fallen asleep within their own frames. The slight snoring sounds from the canvas and the rising and falling of brushstroke painted chests whisper to you that the castle is a living organism. As you climb higher, the noise of the great hall below recedes and fades like a stone dropped into a deep well. All that remains is the sound of your own breathing and the deep silence of the castle. But these stairs are not just made of stone. They are willful, fickle structures with a mind of their own. Just as you're about to pass from the 3rd to the 4th floor, you feel a deep vibration in the ground beneath your feet. The staircase, like a giant turning in its sleep, begins to move with a groan and a creak. You have to hold on to the banister and wait. The sound of stone grinding on stone, that heavy mechanical noise, echoes in the stairwell. As the staircase diverts you from your intended route and connects to another corridor, you stand still, waiting for this heavy movement to end. This moment of waiting increases your weariness further. Leaning your head over the banister, you see the dizzying depth of the bottomless stairwell. The stairs are woven over each other like a complex, ever-changing labyrinth. When you find the right route again and continue climbing, your legs grow heavier and heavier. 5th floor, 6th floor. Your breathing becomes a little quicker. The weight of your robe increases. Each step brings you closer to your bed, to that soft pillow. But it feels like the journey will never end. The torchlight lengthens and shortens shadows, making them dance on the walls. You and your friends don't even have the energy to talk. You just climb and sink, united by a common fatigue. When you finally reach the 7th floor, there's a sweet burning in your legs and the peace of, finally, in your mind. Entering the corridor with the fat lady's portrait, walking on the stone floor feels like walking on cotton after those steep stairs. Looking back at the hundreds of steps you've climbed, the rotating stone blocks, and the vertical journey, the fatigue gives way to a deep desire for sleep. Now you're only a few steps and a password away. After whispering that odd password to the fat lady's portrait, as the painting swings aside with a creak, the first thing that hits your face from the round opening is a wave of intense, physical warmth. The ancient, damp, bone-chilling cold you felt in the castle's stone corridors, moving staircases, and dungeons is cut off like a knife the moment you step over this threshold. When you enter, the floor beneath your feet changes. The hard stones give way to thick, soft, ancient carpets that completely absorb sound. These carpets lighten the weight of your boots when you step on them, as if they draw the fatigue out from the soles of your feet. The atmosphere of the room is completely insulated from the stormy night outside and the castle's eerie shadows. The heart of the room is undoubtedly the majestic fireplace burning within a massive stone arch on the opposite wall. Although the fire has left its most vigorous state at this hour of the night, it still illuminates the room with orange, yellow, and scarlet tongues dancing on strong logs. The heat radiating from the fireplace is a dry, sweet heat. It dries your damp robe, warms your chilled hands, and gives your cheeks a natural rosiness. The rhythmic crackle-pop of the burning wood and the soft hiss from the occasional collapse of embers are the only peaceful melodies breaking the room's silence. This sound tells you, without looking at a clock, how time has slowed down. When the fire's light hits the red wallpaper and golden decorations on the walls, the room itself seems to glow like a smoldering ember. You head toward the famous armchairs arranged around the fireplace like loyal friends waiting for you. These are no ordinary pieces of furniture. They are the famously worn yet incredibly comfortable Gryffindor armchairs. Their dark red velvet fabric has become shiny in places and threadbare in others from years of use. But this wear has only added to their comfort. When you sink into the nearest empty armchair, you slowly sink into the soft cushions that mold to your body's shape. As your back leans against the chair's high back, the tension cord that kept your spine upright all day loosens. The armrests are wide. When you lay your arms on them, you feel the warm texture of the velvet in your palms. This chair envelopes you. It protects you from the dangers of the outside world. Leaning your head back and looking at the ceiling, the room's circular structure reminds you that you're at the top of a tower. But this height isn't frightening, it's safe. On the few tables around lie forgotten parchments, frayed quills, and perhaps an unfinished chess set. These are proof that this is a living, breathing home. As the fireplace's fire slowly turns to embers, the light in the room dims further. Shadows lengthen and soften. Your eyelids grow heavy with the warmth of the fire and the comfort of the chair. Here in this red room, there is no Voldemort, no exams, no potions classes. There is only the warmth of the fire, the softness of the velvet, and the indescribable peace of coming home. Though getting up from this chair and going to your bed feels like the hardest task in the world, you know this warmth will follow you into your dreams. Leaving the safe, warm embrace of the Gryffindor common room and climbing the narrow spiral stairs to the tower dormitory, you are about to close the final curtain of the day. When you push the room's old wooden door open with a creak, the sight that greets you is a picture of unchanged peace that has endured for centuries. This circular room is located at one of the castle's highest points, and the air inside is much more still, much more silent than in the common room below. In the very center, a cast iron stove placed to break the cold of winter nights crackles softly, emitting a gentle warmth. But the true masters of the room are the magnificent four-poster beds lined up along the walls like sentinels. Each bed, with its mahogany-carved pillars and dark red velvet curtains hanging from the top, is like a small private palace chamber prepared just for you. When you find your own bed and approach it, you see the heavy school trunk you dragged along all day has been placed neatly and silently at the foot of your bed by the house elves. This magical service offers a comfort fit for a king. When you slip your robe off your tired body and it slides from your shoulders and falls to the floor, you feel as if you've also laid down all the responsibility, excitement, and weight of the day. The commony touch of your pajamas against your skin sends the message that it's time to rest. The carpet on the floor offers a soft surface for your bare feet. Although the wind outside howls against the tower's thick stone walls, inside this sound is just a muffled whisper, like a lullaby. Climbing into bed requires a small effort, in keeping with the tradition of high-poster beds of the era. When you step onto the bed's edge and slip under the puffy quilt, your body sinks slightly into the mattress. Unlike modern sponge mattresses, the bed is filled with goose feathers, a soft, deep structure that molds to your body's shape. The initial coolness of the sheets merges with your body heat within seconds, turning into a perfect warmth. When you lay your head on the pillow, you sink into it, and all the tension in your neck melts into that softness. But the most satisfying part of this ritual is yet to come. When you reach out and draw the heavy velvet curtains surrounding the bed on all four sides, you sever your last visual connection with the world. When the curtains close, the inside of the bed becomes a dim, isolated cave entirely your own. This enclosed bed system, used by medieval nobles to protect from cold and prying eyes, reminds you of the safe darkness of the womb. Now there are no roommates, no magic, no worries. There's only you and the small, warm void enclosed by the velvet curtains. The thickness of the fabric almost completely swallows the crackling of the room's stove and the breathing sounds of your friends. In this small space, you relax, enveloped but not crushed by the quilt's weight, listening to your own breathing. When you close your eyes, the last images in your mind are the steam of the scarlet train, the castle's lights, and the dance of the candles. But now, within the four posts and velvet walls, absolute silence and peace reign. As your consciousness slowly shuts down, you surrender yourself to the safe arms of Hogwarts, the warmth of your bed, and a dreamless sleep, extinguishing all thoughts in your mind like blowing out a candle flame. Another day at Hogwarts has ended, and now the only thing awaiting you is the endless, peaceful ocean of your dreams. Good night, wizard. Yeah,